It's May 2nd. What's going on? This is the Fight Doctor, aka Eric Bradley, coming to you from Master Boxing LLC. And I thank you guys for watching. Right now you're just tuned in and we're about to jump off because it's May the 2nd and this is what we've been waiting for. At last. We're going to get into some serious conversation today to start off this parade of antics that's going to jump off for the fight of the century, the fight of the era, the fight in boxing history that will be epic and definitely bring something to the table that has never been brought before. Social media backing it and taking it to another level. Once again, I like to introduce myself. My name is Eric Bradley, aka the Fight Doctor, and I thank you guys for watching because you're watching Master Boxing. And right here, this is where we break the fight world down round by round. So welcome aboard, casuals. We're gonna cross you over into the real mainstream version of the boxing life, and this is for those who are watching who have no idea what's going on in the world of boxing. That's what we do over here. We break it down for you. So the first thing we're going to get into is what we call the lights. And in the world of boxing, what we do is use the lights to blind the fighters that you're going up against. So Manny Pacquiao, let me tell you something. Manny Pacquiao used to come at fighters, and Floyd Mayweather did the same thing. What they would do to get an advantage over the fighters, yeah, these boys are both God gifted and talented. They have supreme ability to train like no other. This is Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather. Yes, these guys are truly the solid boxing faces for the past decade and better. But what these guys do is take a fighter who has not reached that magnitude and they blind them in the lights. And why this is important is because that punch that Manny Pacquiao was stopped by Marquez with, people say, yeah, but look at him now. He's been blazing everybody. He's fought 3 times since that knockout, but look at who he's fought. He fought the first guy, which is Brandon Rios, and they knew 100% that they were going to win this fight. I wouldn't be surprised if Freddie Roach put $1 million on the bookie table to win some extra cash because you know he's going to beat Brandon Rios. Brandon Rios can't hit what he can't see. Whenever he did this, Freddie Roach is a master matchmaker. And when they made that match and where he confirmed that it was fine, because the matchmaker is the guy who picks the opponent, aligns him with a fighter, and then they move forward. With the management has to okay it, the promotional company and all these other entities also have a little dog in the fight when it comes down to, is this a good decision? It all depends on how good the relationships are behind that camera. All right, and behind that boxed-in wall in that boardroom, because this is a business. It's not just a barbaric sport. This is a business. Whenever you see these guys all come together and put these fights together, it's all been planned out. Al Heyman is a genius when it comes to it. Look at all the contracts he's gotten with ABC, NBC, CBS, Spike TV, ESPN. When everyone was thinking that he was just shooting us all kinds of bull crap fights last year, he was also plotting and he was making these matches, and he manages these fighters' career in a way that no other can say that they can do it that good, because he doesn't care what the people say, but he keeps the numbers coming. And that's ingenious, because that's something that he's brought over with that Yale degree in economics and whatever other education he has, because guys like that are all about learning more and applying it to their lives. And so where I'm going with this is that the fact that this guy has matched Manny Pacquiao, and I'm going to get on Floyd as well, how they do the same thing, but this guy's matched Manny Pacquiao with Brandon Rios. His feet are in concrete, cement. So whenever he's spinning them, he's just turning them. He knew what the game plan was going to be. Brandon Rios couldn't catch up with Mike Alvarado. How could he possibly catch up with Manny Pacquiao? So that was the first step back. The second step back was to get in the ring and make sure that he could actually beat somebody and have to get some redemption. So he has to get the numbers up now, because the Brandon Rios fight, the numbers were pathetic. So now he has to fight someone where he can get the numbers up. So a rematch with Timothy Bradley was inept. And when he got back in the ring with him, he did what he needed to do. He believed he beat him to death in the first fight as far as rounds. So he knew he could do it again. Once again, ingenious matchmaking. They knew that they could beat Timothy Bradley. Of course, they were a little more worried this time because Timothy Bradley has built up his little boxing cachet a step or two. So they definitely have to be concerned, because this dude brought a dog in the fight the first time. This time, they knew they know how to do just enough to win or blow him out. It's going to go either way. Or he was going to run into something this time. The difference is Manny's a lot smaller now, and we know what that's about. But at the same time, you got to appreciate what the guy can bring to the ring. Third, then he gets in the ring with Chris Algieri, which just proved there are levels to this game. Chris Algieri had no idea what was coming. But the fact that Pacquiao had been in the ring with Antonio Margarita and De La Hoya, he knew he could handle a big fighter. Now, if this was 4 or 5 years ago, 6 years ago, yeah, it would probably been a different story. He probably would have not taken the fight. Very good chance, because Chris Algieri is a big boy. But they knew he didn't have punching power, so they knew that whatever he brought to the table, it wasn't going to be enough to stop Manny from going inside and eating him alive. And these things are all about matchmaking for a fighter who's experienced trauma. Bernard Hopkins spoke to it early, soon after it happened. Now he's kind of recanted those statements. But you got Roy Jones Jr., who weighed in about it. And then you have Stephen A. Smith, who's weighed in about it and brought that thing back to the forefront. This thing is real. Traumatization to the mind. Those demons come back to you. Now you're going in there against a pugilist. You have to make sure that you understand how to really annihilate this situation. How do you get away from that when those straight rights start coming? And they're going to be landing, because he's going to sit down on them more. Floyd has been on the record saying he's stronger. He's ready to throw these punches. Zab Judah's also on the record saying, I'm going to be front and center whenever Floyd starts breaking him down. And I don't think he's going to be void of this attack. Now when it comes to Floyd, he's been a master of picking his fighters the same way. Matchmakers matter. You know, Al Heyman is already a natural matchmaker, regardless if he's just management. These guys all get a say, and they all have a dog in the fight at that boardroom table whenever they're making these decisions. Bob Arum, you know, he doesn't get that far into it. He's on the business side of things. He's the company. He's the brand. So those guys, other guys make the decisions, and he kind of just weighs in, you know, and makes it happen. Strokes the check. Everything goes from that point on. And like I said, those guys often get blinded by the lights. Brandon Rios, when you saw him over there in China, he was flabbergasted. Same thing with Chris Algieri. Flabbergasted. Head in a cloud. His head swole up. You know what that is? That's the flash of that limelight, and it got him. And when he got in the ring, Manny Pacquiao peeled off his ears. And he did it to both of those guys, because that's what happens when those lights get bright. Well, at the weigh-in yesterday, what you saw is both of them kind of got starstruck as far as the magnitude of the fight. Not specifically about each other, but just the magnitude of that fight. So I wanted to break that down for you guys. Certain things that you guys are going to have to be looking out for. Nerves will play a part, but I believe the way that these guys are going to come together, it's going to be tentative, but they're going to be throwing punches. I don't think they'll hesitate a lot. I think they'll try to get warm and break a sweat before they start really engaging. They both will know this, because they both know how they are feeling. And they know that feeling is going to be comparable. And they're going to definitely cooperate with each other when that fight first begins, especially until they break a sweat and they really feel each other. And Floyd kind of feels Manny's speed, and Manny feels Floyd's defense and his power. They're gonna feel each other out. Trust me, watch this fight. The feel out process will happen, but they will let go. And when they let go, it's gonna be something special. Now, it was another thing that I wanted to break down, because getting into this, I wanted you guys to, this is round 2, the camps. A lot of you guys watch boxing on the outside, but I'm going to tell you what goes on behind that in between those circles and in those 4 corners in that ring, not during the training camp, but during the season. If you're a fighter and you fight full time, you train. That's your job. You train year round, because you never know when you're going to get that call, and you might not have the complete notice, even though you're a full-time fighter. But inside that ring, inside that gym, day in and day out, if you're not experienced and you don't know, I don't care how much TV you watch, and I'm speaking to Max Kellerman, because Max Kellerman was literally physically attacked by Teddy Atlas this week on the set of Sports Nation, because Teddy Atlas was trying to make a point about Pacquiao being able to do certain things, which he was kind of reaching, but Max countered him, and Teddy Atlas didn't like it. And when back years ago when Max was on ESPN, Friday Night Fights, and Teddy Atlas was doing what he's still doing on Friday Night Fights, they used to clash then, but they could play it off because they don't have to really spend a lot of time together. Max would have been on set, and Teddy Atlas would be at the fights. So they just do a little 3-minute segment each week. So they didn't have to really deal with each other. But you know how it is when you have somebody that work with you that you don't get along, whether you go to school with them and y'all butt heads. But that's what goes on between these guys. But they were physically on the set together. So it didn't take long for it to escalate. But Max had written an article not years ago when they first really start transcending into each other. They used to hang out together at a buddy's house that they had in common and talk boxing. One thing about the world of boxing is Teddy Atlas is really from the world of boxing, the boxing world. Behind the scenes, Custody Amato, Mike Tyson, Michael Moore, and the list goes on and on. Max Kellerman is a fan of boxing that just happens to be a journalist and happens to have a job in the sport. That does not make him a boxing aficionado when it comes to inside of the gym. He's a boxing mind outside of the gym, behind that camera. He knows more than most. He knows a lot about a lot of sports. And so I'm definitely not attacking his intellectual cachet. I just said, when you are in a gym Monday through Sunday with fighters, there's a different level of knowledge that goes with that. Every level of experience you get uplifts you a little bit more, and it's different. And I think without a doubt that Teddy Atlas is offended by Max, because Max is out there and he feels like Max has got this job due to the fact that he just was in the right place at the right time, but he's truly not at that level in the sport, inside of the real fighter, where the fighters go down in the dungeon. He's just on that mainstream visual of boxing, so he's a face, so he's getting so much more credibility, you know. And Teddy Atlas is still working at ESPN, and now Max is on HBO. And at HBO, you're getting limelight. You're getting seen in the limelight, and that definitely has to have rubbed Teddy the wrong way. But Teddy also stepped over his bounds by, as they were getting into the argument, he walks over and puts his hands on Max, which is, this is licensed to break him off something proper. But Max is not that kind of guy. But I know he felt that heat, and I know he wanted to redeem himself. He just has to redeem himself by saying words like, hey, you're treating me like I'm over here. I feel like I'm still over here at ESPN. And he's over at HBO. So that was sort of like a dagger to Teddy Atlas. But in Teddy's defense, even though he was dead wrong, he's defending the dungeon of the sport of boxing, the doghouse of the sport of boxing. Don't pretend like you know everything about boxing if you don't go between those square circle in the gyms Monday through Sunday, because there's a different world than what you guys know out here in the mainstream audience or the casual fans and even the fans who are just fans, not from the sport of boxing. Boxing looks entirely different from our side of the spectrum. It means everything, that it's not tainted when it reaches you guys out there. Because what goes on in here, 90% of you watching would not even be able to process it or go through it, because it takes, you have to be cut from that special kind of cloth. If you're not, people go in, they come into that joint, and the first thing they do is like, yeah, this is cool. It's just not for me. You know if you fit in the world of boxing, and I mean the world, inside of the dungeon. But when you open at that gym door and you smell that survival, those ketones, it's a different world. And Teddy Atlas is defending it against those who are reaping reward for being the faces of boxing, but they truly still don't have that inside edition experience. So in Teddy's defense, I got to roll with him on that, but he was dead wrong, because Max is an intelligent young man. He brings credibility to the sport, and Teddy needs to get out of that prehistoric mindset, because that's also important. So that was me weighing in on that, because the inside of the boxing game is much different. And that's why we're bringing it live to you at Master Boxing. And I want you guys to understand it for those reasons, and those reasons mainly. Because the rest of that stuff that you guys hear all the time is smoke and mirrors. That's why you see guys like Floyd getting frustrated with reporters. And he always say, you guys ask me the same question. I always have to tell you. Because you're never going to get the real liaison support from the fighters giving that inside to you guys, because those things are proprietary to our world. We can give you certain things, but you only going to get certain things. You don't even get the meat sauce from what truly happens inside the camp. All the turmoil, that'll never come out. You guys got a taste of it when Floyd and his dad burst into flames when he was in training camp against Victor Ortiz back in '09. But that's all you get. You don't get the real stuff on a consistent basis. All boxers know the rules. There's a law of boxing like in the mafia. Shh. Only certain things get out, even to the journalists. I want you guys to know one thing. It's always a pleasure doing business with you guys. Continue to watch and go out to the website www.masterboxingllc.com. You're going to get training, how to look like a boxer, how to train like a boxer, educate you in the science of boxing, and make sure that you just scroll through the channel, because we also have all the live feeds of what's going on currently inside of the sport. They call me the Fight Doctor, and I thank you guys for watching, because you're watching Master Boxing. And this is where we break the fight world down, round by round. Today is May 2nd. Enjoy the fight. It's the fight of the era. It's the fight of boxing history. It's going to take what we've done to another level. So let's ride, baby. Peace. Post-fight, you can stay tuned, because we're going to get it rocking as soon as the fight is over. Manny Pacquiao, Floyd Mayweather Jr. We out.